Christie converted from close range to make it 2-1 to the Cherries. And Leicester, Matt Elliott, will be wondering how this has slipped away from them.
They will, but they should know the answer to that. You know, they took their foot off the gas. Credit to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, you know, kept persevering, kept plugging away, increased their tempo a little bit of the game, but Leicester just dropped off the pace and almost. I don't know, you know, despite taking into account Leicester's, you know, fragility of late, I thought with the performance against Nottingham, people were hoping that would be, you know, a turning point for them, and you know the signs were pretty good today. Take the lead, they look comfortable enough. They dealt with the early surge from Bournemouth. A little bit of sloppiness in one or two areas, which you felt might be Leicester's downfall, but ultimately it was collective casualness. Really, I can't really excuse how they let things slide there, because you know they weren't torn open by tremendous football. They sort of conceded the initiative and the advantage. And then Bournemouth, they took advantage of Leicester's ineptitude, really.
Leicester walking off wondering what might have been. The players all going over to the away end to thank them for their efforts coming down here today. Although a mixed reaction, I'd say the majority overall applauding and thanking the players for their efforts, but not to be on the road once again. 5 away games so far this season, 5 defeats, and another 2 conceded after a promising start. Handing back to you, Dan, with another defeat, I'm afraid. It finishes here at the Vitality. Bournemouth 2, Leicester 1.
Thank you, James. Yep, bitterly disappointing afternoon again for the Foxes on the road, this time on the south coast against Bournemouth. Leicester had the lead, but squandered it in the second half. Well, in the space of, 3 second-half minutes, really, Bournemouth. Equalising and then taking the lead. Matt Elliott will stay with us for the next 20 minutes or so. Walsh is here in the studio. Jerry Taggart's on Zoom. 3, well, we can't see Matt, but I'm sure 3 very dejected looking faces. Jerry, I'll start with you.
Yeah, bitterly disappointing. You have to say that second half performance. We spoke about it at half time about the sloppiness in their play at times from Leicester, and you know, I'm getting away with it. But that second half, you could sort of see what was coming from the beginning, Dan, if I'm being honest. And it's only the only surprise for me is that it didn't end up more for Bournemouth. I think we can analyze. I don't know if you're going to analyse both goals, but again, both goals totally unavoidable. But overall, I just thought, well, we've seen it before this season, haven't we? Especially away from home, and even the first couple of home games where they've taken the lead, look comfortable, and then completely throw it away. And I think that's what's happened today.
Yeah, bitterly disappointing. It is. And, you know, when I look at the game as a whole, Bournemouth deserved to win that. They did. It was a nervy kind of feeling that you get with Leicester. Too many balls were played into our box. How many crosses and free kicks and corners did they have that were coming into the box? That's going to cause a problem at some point. You know, things you can't. We're not good enough just to sit back and defend. And we sat deeper and deeper. We invited pressure. There was too many risks taken in key areas for me. You know, Faz obviously, you know, trying to back past that from there. You just got to play safe in areas like that. You know, Kieran trying to do a turn in a position that was, you know, again, that's another risk-taking incident, and we just destroy ourselves through silly thought processes and, you know, wrong options that we take at times. But when you've got 100 balls coming into your box, at some point, you know, something's going to happen. First of all, you've got to look at stopping the crosses, and but far too many balls came in. If we did a analysis on that, I'm sure it would be incredible how many balls we had to deal with. But we dealt quite well. You know, listen, we've been called for our defending from corners and set pieces, and I thought we defended on the whole pretty well the whole game. But you know, things are going to happen, and you know, and we're a much more attacking team than that I didn't feel we did that the second half. I thought people got away from us too easy. They put us on the back foot, did Bournemouth, and I thought that we could see this through at 1-0, but we can't do that. We can't, and we paid the ultimate price. Like I said, I feel a little bit edgy even in the first half with things. Just doesn't feel quite right. But you know, we've showed better signs over the last 2 games. You know, that we're going to turn things around. So we've still got to, you know, you've got to dust down again, and we've got to go again. It's simple. You've got games that are winnable games in this next 6 or 7 before this break, you know, for the World Cup. So it's an important time, and these are points dropped. I did feel a point would have been nice today, you know, just keeps us going and that momentum. But again, it's an away defeat, 5 defeats away, is it? And we're conceding 2 goals again. So disappointing, very much so. But I think that we've not helped ourselves in certain areas, and we're taking too many risks at the back.
Certainly does feel like points dropped, Matt Elliott, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, if you take the lead in a game, you know, you expect to get something out of it, even if you're away from home in the Premier League. And yeah, it's difficult to explain, really. You know, I'm surprised at how easily Leicester sort of conceded the advantage and ultimately conceded all 3 points, so that they, you know, on the back of, understand that, you know, they've had a rough time and the confidence is a bit fragile, but Monday was, you know, deemed as such an important game and you know, a big moment in the early part of the season, and they played superbly. Got the rub of the green a little bit, but you know, deserved that element of fortune. Excellent goals. You know, they're on a high. They're coming here. They withstood the early pressure from Bournemouth, who started, you know, quite brightly, but then took advantage, got the goal, a little bit out of nothing. But then they took stock and they looked quite composed, quite comfortable to me. But they just settled for what they thought was like the easy option. It's like, well, we'll coast. And we said, you know, you can't do that in any game at this level, really. Leicester are not very rarely going to be good enough to do that. Both the boys and yourselves and myself mentioned, you know, about sloppiness, and you can't afford to, you know, drop your focus at all, because Bournemouth is the sort of team who will sense that, and they'll think, hang on, we've got an opportunity here, because they won't feel like that every week, Bournemouth, but they sensed it. Leicester couldn't react to it, but collectively, let's let Bournemouth back into the game more than Bournemouth forcing their way back into it. It was almost inviting them to say, come on, you know, what have you got? But Leicester weren't that confident in dealing with it, so you shouldn't invite them on in that situation. You know, the best form of defence would have been for Leicester to attack more and to have more possession, be further up the pitch, because as Walshy says, sooner or later something was going to give. You felt it. That's what happened. And once the 1 goal went in, they couldn't stop the flow, really, and you could say we're slightly fortunate just to concede the 2 and never really looked like getting back into it themselves.
Matt, I believe Walshy, you got a question.
Do you know what, Matt? I don't know, because you're obviously closer to the pitch than we were. Castagna picked up an injury. I know that. Was it? You know, was it? It's a black eye from what I saw.
Yeah.
Did he want to come off? Did he? Or?
No. Yeah, that was a little bit bizarre. You know, slightly questionable.
I thought he had a good game. You see.
Yeah, he did all right, didn't he? I mean, early on the first half, I didn't see how the actual injury was sustained, but I saw the impact of it, and it was quite swollen, you know, on the underneath the eye, on the cheekbone. Maybe
his vision was you know, not right, but it seemed the wrong decision for me.
Well, it was questionable, wasn't it? I think you have to say that. You know, people will flag that up and think, no, certainly to answer your question, well, because Castagna was right here in front of me, and he realised that a substitution was being made, came up to Brendan Rodgers, and you could see him signalling he had his 4 fingers and a thumb up, saying, is it 5 or 4? and Brendan Rodgers basically said, it's a 4, you're coming off. And he pointed towards his eye, Rodgers did. So as if he was suggesting that was impairing him. Castagna didn't seem to think so, because he was willing to continue. He was surprised to come off, but yeah, not long after that, Leicester concede.
Yeah, I guess it did come from the other side, Jerry, didn't it? The actual equalising goal, but yeah, whatever it was, and whichever side of the goal it came, it was disappointing, wasn't it? It was an avoidable goal again that was conceded. Yeah.
Well, I said both of them were, absolutely. First one, obviously, Fast makes a bit of a mistake. But if you actually look at when Kane in Dewsbury Hall tries that little trick and the ball goes out of play, he just stops dead. And that's when you need to switch on. And him and James Justin just stopped dead and started walking back. Instead of sprinting back, getting back in a good position and giving cover the Fast in case he makes a mistake. And then the second goal, as the ball comes into the box, there's a half-hearted attempt at a clearance. And, Bournemouth pick the pieces up, recycle it, another ball comes into the box again. And it's a headed down pass, basically. And the ball goes into the back of the net. But I just think initially when the ball came in the box, there was a half-hearted attempt to make a clearance. And in those situations, that's where you have to go in, all guns blazing. You throw everything on the line to get those balls clear and away from the danger area. And unfortunately, Wassey's already mentioned it. Too easy for Bournemouth to get down the sides and put 3 crosses into the box. No pressure whatsoever. Very, very disappointing.
You often hear, Jerry, obviously people say about goalkeepers coming in and taking everybody, teammates, opponents. That's probably what the defender needed almost to do in that situation, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was actually Johnny Evans with the initial challenge, with the first ball that came in. And it's a half-hearted attempt from Johnny. I'm Johnny's biggest fan. But on this occasion, I have to pull him out and say, Johnny, you need to go and just clean that out. Clean that ball out, do whatever it takes, and the ball doesn't get cleared, gets recycled, and then the rest is history, as we know. I'm just very, very disappointed. Like a soft underbelly is what I seen in that second half today from Leicester. From a winning position, you always hear ex-players like myself going on about when you're in a tight game, but you have that 1-0 lead, it should give you that extra impetus to try and hold on to it. And unfortunately, I didn't see that in the second half.
And even when that first goal was conceded, Walsh, you just want to think, at least for the next 5 minutes, for the next 10 minutes, make sure you don't concede again, be really, really solid.
Yeah, like I said, we would have taken the point, and it would have been a decent result, but again, you just kind of half had that feeling that Bournemouth are going to get another one, and it's not a nice feeling to have. And like we say, there was people taking risks and doing wrong things, and I thought Kiernan and James Justin today were well below par than the normal game, so obviously that was a key influence on it as well. But yeah, silly goals, we've got to cut these out, or we are gonna pay the ultimate price. And it's like I said before, too many things are happening, and too many crosses are coming in. We're having to defend so much, and like I say, it's making us look laboured. And Johnny Evans again, he's just showing signs of he's not finished by any means. Don't take this the wrong way, but he's starting to just show the signs of when I started to come to the end of my career. I started, you can't get there, you can't do these things, and he's just showing a few signs of that. So don't anyone think that I'm writing off Johnny Evans, because he's got so much still left in him. But I look at him now and just saying it's just a little bit slower, and but he reads the game so well, and he's battled hard, but so much is relying on our defence to head balls away and to follow up, and it's just too much to handle. There was so many balls, and I thought they actually defended pretty sternly today, and yet the stats tell you that there's far too many balls going into the box, and you're not going to be able to handle it at some point. But it's a shame, because we had something there, and we had our hand grasped on a, I thought this would have been an amazing away win, in the back of the Forest. If not, we get the point. But like I say, I don't like to see what happens after when we do concede the second, because it was like the Alamo then. We were just going all over the place, and it happened against Tottenham in the second half, and we were just out of shape. And then teams are going to expose you. Very good teams would have ruthlessly scored a few more than Bournemouth got today if that would have happened in the game. So we've got to be careful. We really have. And it's a situation where we've still got to go back to the drawing board. We've got to try and look at the positives, because there was good things that happened in the game, but we've got to cut all these risk taking out, and just really, if we are sitting back, we've got to do it in a way and a fashion that can get us out of, when we counter, we get and the shape's right. So to me, it's just a frustrating second half, because we had one hand on the game itself.
Yeah, and even more frustratingly, I guess, Matt, is that when Leicester went behind, they didn't create really any chances, did they? There wasn't that one moment where you thought that's where they could have got the equaliser.
No, that's a fair point, Dan. And also, it was slightly worrying as well was when Leicester conceded the first goal. There wasn't enough of a reaction. There should have been a reaction before that. Someone, should have recognised that things weren't going how they would want, and Bournemouth were edging their way back into the game for conceding the one goal. Then the second, soon afterwards, as you say, there was no real change. It wasn't like they were stirred by conceding that first one. It was almost accepting the inevitable a little bit. But then conceding that second, you can visibly, and which is a bit worrying, visibly see the shoulders sagging and the heads down. Some people might think, oh, that's natural, disappointment at conceding a lead. 2 goals in quick succession, but you've got to have more resolve than you about that. I haven't seen that at times before. Possibly when you're conceding 4, 5, 6 and you're getting trounced, but just that 1 goal margin, the fact that they'd let Bournemouth back into the game, the body language wasn't good, and then you didn't see any chances created, certainly not clear-cut ones, subsequently. And I wasn't surprised, because when that second goal went in, don't like to admit it, but from what I saw, Leicester looked like they were a beaten side, and there was still, 15, 20 minutes to go?
20 minutes.
20 minutes to go, exactly. So, that's not something you want to see.
I saw a stat on the Premier League TV, and don't forget, only 1 or 2 years ago, we've got stats from Ndidi with the most passes. You'd have Vardy, so many shots and everything. All Maddison, all these stats were brilliant. There's only one person got stats now, and it's Johnny Evans for how many passes he's made, and that tells you that the ball is in his area a lot. If he's passing the ball that many times, I think about 700 passes or whatever it was, and that's the only person in all the stats now that we've got, and that doesn't add up to me. It tells me the wrong story. I want to see it where we've got Dak and we've got Barnes or an attacking player getting all the praise and the stats. But when it's your defender, it does tell you a bit of a story that the ball is in that area a lot.
Sorry, Walshy, but not for the first time. It's a big week, Walshy, isn't it, for
Massive.
Brendan Rodgers on the training ground, looking ahead to that game. Crystal Palace again at home, a 12:30 kick-off here on Saturday. Massive again.
Yeah, Brendan knows the score. He knows there's a lot of pressure on every game in the Premier League. We know that, and what we've seen is that there's some very, very good players in this team, and there's a class above a lot of teams in this league, but we've got to get that resilience. We've got to keep plugging away and working hard, and let's just get that kind of just team spirit. Keep it together, because if we start and lose that, when you lose a couple of games, it can go worse. So this club has to stay together. And I felt it on Monday that everyone inside the club, the workers, the people, you know, away from the football pitch, you know, you could sense there was definitely a togetherness to help us win that Forest game, and we're going to have to keep that up to get through this period, and we will get through it if that happens.
Yeah, huge game, Jerry, isn't it, on Saturday now, looking ahead to next week against Crystal Palace?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you just see in the league table where Palace is, it's a 6-pointer basically. Simple as that. You know, we need to win it. We're at home. I think the decent record against Palace in recent years is a bit mixed, if memory serves me correct. So again, another difficult game. Even though I think we beat them quite easily last season, in fairness, but this is there's a different mentality to this team at the minute, and we need to get rid of that mentality. And we thought we had after the result and the performance on Monday night, but unfortunately, it's just crept in again. So there's going to have to be some big conversations again this week between Brendan and the squad to make sure that mentally they go out and put in a performance and hopefully get the result that, again, is sadly wanting.
Final point can go to you, Matt Elliott, down on the South Coast. You've made that trip. We might as well get our money's worth from you from the long journey down to the South Coast. Can you sum up how disappointing again that is today for Leicester City?
Yeah, I think it's, the more it kicks in, the more disappointing it gets. You know, because you look at it, I wasn't expecting that second half performance really. We spoke about the pitfalls and the dangers at half time. To cut out the sloppiness and don't give any encouragement to Bournemouth, because they keep nagging away at you. They don't disappear. They won't hand you the game on a plate. You have to go and earn it. And Leicester didn't earn it. They didn't earn anything in that second half. They just let the game unfold, but they let their grasp slip on the points, as well, she said there, and Bournemouth sensed it. They upped the ante. Leicester couldn't or wouldn't or didn't react to it, and that surprised me on the back of that Forest game, because I thought perhaps a little bit of the spark was back. They were quite professional the majority of the time in the first half. They got the lead, looked after it, certainly largely. One or two moments of concern. I didn't expect that in the second half. I thought, they should have had that extra edge and determination. They know how precious points are, to keep hold of them, and they didn't see that. Didn't see that today. It was, there was a bit of a worry. I don't know, the collective disillusionment and disappointment when that second goal went in. Like Jerry says, there's a lot of words to be spoken.
We've got 5 games coming up now, Matt, that are teams that are in the bottom 7 or 8. So these games are really important.
But this is an important game today, Well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that. But I'm just looking at
part of that run.
Yeah.
But listen.
Hey, we're two games behind, 6 points behind Liverpool, mate. So it can't be that bad.
No, listen. Hey, there's always a positive spin on it, so we'll see. But next Saturday, huge game.
Yeah, absolutely. You can join us, of course, on Matchday Live for that. It's a 12:30 kickoff. That means we'll be on from 11:30 next week. Big thanks to Matt Elliott. Safe travels back from the South Coast. Thanks to Jerry for joining us via Zoom. Thanks as ever to Walshy for coming to the studio today. But it's been another disappointing afternoon for Leicester City. If you want to hear more reaction, then you can do on Extra Time. On Monday evening, we'll be live from 6 p.m. So do join us for that. Good night.